Hey everybody, this is Cody922 here. Welcome to Cody Talks Fandom episode number... Shit, I actually don't know what number this is. Welcome to episode number numerically very, very high. This episode, first off, welcome back to me. It's been a while since I've actually recorded anything. Last thing I recorded was a Soulfire interview, which I believe was now 3, maybe 4? It was like 4 weeks ago or something like that. It's been a really long time since I've recorded anything. So, just to catch y'all up, I actually hit the monetary goal on Cody Talks Fandom, the RTX edition. So, if you want to keep donating towards that, that'd be awesome because it will actually help me out still. I need a microphone and I need a tripod. And I could afford both of those things, but like, if I get money and am able to afford it, like, without buying it, like, myself, that'd be super duper swell, and I'd really, really appreciate it, you guys. But now the big thing, signups. So once again, I will reiterate, if you're going to RTX, please, 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 please take a look and see if you want to like take just a couple minutes out of your trip and out of RTX in general, and just talk to me and just do a short little tiny interview. Now on to the next episode. This is going to continue on with the fanon interpretations side of things. This one is going to be, well, I think Alright, this is going to sound really strange. Out of the characters that I have less to say about, which is Pyrrha, which is RWBY as well, I would put in that discussion, this is one of the more interesting ones on that side of things. Not in general, but on this side of things. And that is Sun Wukong. No, not the Chinese god. No, not the previously OP, now kind of underpowered, now in a weird spot in terms of balance, Smite god. Shoutouts to Smite. No, we're talking about Sun Wukong, the character from the show. That was a really dumb route. I don't know why I made that. Like, probably 3 people that watch this play understand what I'm talking about. So, Sun. He's a fun character, within reference to the show, so as per usual, lead off, talk about what we've seen from him in the show. So really, Sun so far, he had an interesting introduction. He was kind of there to reiterate Weiss's point, which is that faunists are criminals, are inherently criminals. Having animal traits makes you a criminal. Looking like that makes you a criminal. He was originally there to kind of reiterate that point. And that was interesting. He jumped off the boat. He was clearly a stowaway. One of the first things that we heard from him kind of did give a little bit of insight to his personality of, hey, a no good stowaway would have been caught. I'm a great stowaway, which is kind of like, okay, well, he admits it. He's not doing like the best thing ever, but he understands it. In fact, he actually kind of enjoys it. And so he's taunting. And that's an interesting part about his character. But, you know, and then we see him go back for Blake because he understands that something's up. He understands that there is something about Blake that makes it interesting, that makes her interesting, that makes her worthwhile going back for. And that is, as we learned, the faunus thing. As we got confirmation on, it was the faunus thing. Because most of us already knew it. And so then our showing of Sun is he can fight, he wants to do something, he hates the White Fang. Come volume 2, he's kind of just like around. He's not really doing anything. I think that's one of the most important things to know about volume 2 Sun. He never really did anything. He was just kind of there. He was always there. He was always delivering one-liners. He was always tagging along. He was always bringing Neptune. But he never really did much of anything, which is interesting. I want to talk about that later. But so that was kind of our. That's how we've seen Sun so far. Obviously, like every other character, Sun does need more development. I think predominantly now we've hit a point. We hit it last episode, and I didn't really say anything, and I'm sorry. But now we've really hit a point where like every single character you ever hear me mention throughout the rest of Fandom interpretations, which is like 5, 6 more, they're going to need more development specifically. So Sun does need more development. Everybody on his team does, Team Sun. So he's very, very interesting. He's an interesting character because what the fanon interpretation is of him, I think, tends to mirror more so what we saw in Volume 2. What did we see in Volume 1? Well, he steals things. He's a criminal. Well, he's not doing that anymore. He's not stealing anything. That's a part of his character that's just kind of gone. What happened to it? I don't know. I have no idea what happened to it. But it's gone. It's just not there. And so that is an interesting... So that's just like, what happened? Why is it there? Or why is it not there, I should say. So that part of his character is kind of vanished in Volume 2. And it's kind of not really in the fandom anymore either. A lot of Sun used to revolve around this kind of like... I don't want to say cool guy. I can't really think of the word for it. It revolves around this persona of like stealing stuff, being cocky, being confident, knowing what he's about. And that was really cool. I really like that characterization of Sun. It's kind of gone away now. We don't really have that anymore. Which, like I said, I miss. I really liked that characterization of Sun, but, it's not in it wasn't in Volume 2, and it's not really in the fandom interpretation of him. I don't see references to the fact that Sun steals a lot. Even in, I didn't read, I'm going to come out and say this 100% right now because I am underqualified. I don't read many, I have never read any, like, Sun predominant stories. Or I have read, like, 2, maybe 3. The only one that I can name right now is Tooth and Nail by Hanasaku Shijin. That's, like, all I have off the top of my head. And so I could be wrong, but it seems to me in discussions and headcanons and fan art, that part of Sun is kind of absent. So is this... And this persona that he had before of knowing what he did, knowing that it was wrong, but still enjoying it, still knowing like, I'm better at it than you, so therefore I am better than you. That's also kind of missing. Now it's more so along the Volume 2 Sun where... Okay, I'll start by... I probably should have done this earlier, explaining what I mean by Volume 2 Sun. Volume 2 Sun showed up in Episode 1. Showed up in Episodes 1 through 4, played a minor part in the arc, in the prom arc, which, real talk, real fast, minor part is like the best thing that can happen to anybody out of that prom arc if you were directly associated with the prom, which he was, which is awesome. Great for Sun. But, Sun, prom arc, really kind of just having, a very minor and a very, like, not so huge impact, on things, and, was actually around for them breaking into the White Fang hideout. Was with Blake when they listened to Roman's speech that he gave to the White Fang about people in charge and whatnot. And so he was, in terms of actual screen time, very predominant character, especially early on. Was around a ton, just like but like never did anything. Sun never really amounted to much more outside of being this character who was around, who kind of didn't even really talk a big game, but was there and provided a lot of comic relief. I think that is kind of a gap between Volume 2. I think that the gap that was left by Jean when they decided to no longer make him this predominantly comic relief character, I think that was filled by Sun. He suddenly became a lot more involved with comic relief and kind of just not really contributing too much other than just like being there, scaring at the sound of the big robot. And obviously with the prom arc, I've been on record saying this. I don't know if it was on this show, but no relationship that was introduced during the prom arc feels like it's canon. Feels solid, feels like it's canon. So his thing with Blake is kind of, I chalk that up to a prom dance, a prom date. There for, hey, I brought a date to prom. And I think that's where Arcos, oddly enough, falls. That's where Arctic Ocean falls. I think that's really kind of where this all shapes up for Sun. And I'm part of me is okay with that. I like this Sun that is like, in all actuality, kind of just really a useless noodle that just like shows up and just screws up. Like all he did was he threw two shadow clones at the mech that Roman was in before getting knocked the fuck off the bridge. And I like that. I thought that that was funny because then he was at the noodle house, right? But that's not all that there is to Sun. And we didn't get to see anything more than that in Volume 2. I'm okay with that. I think that time, well, some time could have been spent on Sun, just in regards to other characters, other plot lines that they decided to do. But I think that, like, in the grand scheme of things, I'm okay with Sun not really developing much as a character in Volume 2. And I think that, but I think that that kind of wound up being our canon, our canon, fanon interpretation of this character as well. We didn't really develop him much, and in fact, we took the form of him that didn't develop much, and that's what we rolled with, as opposed to making this character that's kind of different. I In Volume 1, we meet Sun. He somehow got on a ship. Nobody knew that he was there until he decided to get off. He runs away from the police. He shows up and he kicks ass to help Blake. That's how we got introduced to Sun. And I think that that's a part that's not necessarily forgotten about. No, that's not fair. I think that that's kind of just a part that's been kind of forgotten about. Just this Sun that showed up, he helped out somebody that he thought needed help, and Blake did. I mean, that's kind of the other thing. He showed up, and Blake didn't really need his help this volume, but he was there anyways, and he was helping out Blake anyways. And so that's kind of like that's a separate discussion in terms of should he have been there to help out Blake when she really didn't want it, didn't ask for it, didn't like do anything. That's a different discussion. What is the same discussion though is this character who did show up, who did come to help when needed, who helps when needed. He kicked ass. The fact that it was him and Blake is basically the only reason that Roman didn't outright completely win that fight, because Roman is one of the better fighters that has been shown fighting in the show. And so I think that it is very, very interesting. And this character too that very openly proclaimed his detest for the White Fang because of what they do to the Faunus image. Of just like this group that has devolved into a terrorist organization that's hungry for blood. And that's really, well, and that is the narrative that the show has given us and that's what Blake gave us. That's why she left the White Fang. In terms of like, I believed in what it stood for, but now we're not doing the right thing. And he was vocal about that. And that's just not being shown. He's just kind of been this character that's very much so not there. And I think that needs to change. I think that Sun, in terms of the fanon interpretation, this kind of cocky guy that says a lot, that's there. That is definitely there within the fanon interpretation. Then it just kind of amounts to him being the useless noodle after that. And I don't think that that's fair to a character like Sun, because we've seen him do this before. Neptune and Jean, totally fair. 100% A-okay with that. Because we honestly, like, Jean really has had, like, one shining moment of usefulness. I'm not talking about, like, his morals being in check, which he's had moments of that too, but, like, of him actually being useful. Jean has had like one shining moment. That was a fight against an Ursa in which he actually didn't look great in, right? He was just kind of blindly swung. But Sun has had several moments, even if all in the exact same episode and has not reappeared. Sun has had several moments of that. And I think that is where there's kind of been a gap and a bit of a lack. I want this cocky Sun that takes things and gets it done. I think that that's really where we can go with this character as far as a fanon goes, and I think that that's where we can go with this character as far as a canon goes. I think that if you want to explore other routes for Sun, I think that the idea of him being associated with the White Fang out of need is interesting, and I really like that plot idea. I think that the idea of him still being a thief, of being a kleptomaniac, is interesting, and I love that. I love this idea of a Sun who's just kind of like, everything about him is the same, except he does bad shit, and he gets in trouble for it. and he's just kind of like, yeah, but like I'm really good at it, and I have to do this. I have to steal to survive or something like that. I said kleptomaniac, but I'm okay with either or. If it's just like I didn't have a choice, I had to join the White Fang because I was in such a bad situation. And I think that is where this is like a really cool character. There's like, we've seen him do bad things but say good things. He did the wrong thing, but he said the right thing, right? Like he stole. That's bad. Stealing is bad. No. Slap on the wrist. But he said the right thing. White Fang is bad, right? Like I'm grossly oversimplifying this, so I do apologize to any Sun Wukong fans that are watching this and they're like, why are you making it so simple? But so that's really interesting because you can take it in the direction of he still says bad things, but he still says good things, but he does bad things. You can turn it into he says bad things, but he does good things. You can turn it into he says and does bad things, or he says and does good things. Like, that's cool. I like that kind of character. There's a lot of flexibility with this character. I think that kind of like the one thing is the talking a big game. I don't really think that's negotiable. I think that that's just kind of ingrained in Sun, because even in Volume 2, when he really had less of an impact on the plot, he was still talking a big game. And I think that that's like the coolest thing about this character. And I think that that's where like we're set. Sun talks a big game and like everywhere, and I love it. I love this Sun that's just like, yo, let's fucking go. Like, I can beat you in this. Like, yo, I'm real good. I love that Sun. And that's like the Sun that we've seen really kind of come out to shine. Now, the other side of things. Shipping. Where do we go with for Sun? Well, I think that to start, Sun is really somebody that needs a partner that tempers him. Let me rephrase. Sun's partner either has to temper him or it has to grossly, I want to say extremize, but that's not a real word. Grossly make him do bad thing more. Let's just break it down to the simplest to speak, because words I can't do it right now. Sun, he needs somebody to show up and be like, yo, he either needs somebody who will show up and be like Blake. Let's start. I'm going to list off what the most popular ships that I see Sun with. I think that first and foremost, without a single question or hesitation, it's Sea Monkeys. Sea Monkeys is was one of the more popular ships in this fandom going into this volume. It is still, I think, top 15 probably. I mean, I'd have to like actually assemble a list of what I think the most popular ships within the fandom are and then go from there, but Sea Monkeys is one of the more popular ships within the fandom. Easily the most popular Sun ship, easily most popular Neptune ship, most popular boy ship as well. That just kind of goes without a question. Oh, cheers. And that's like, and that's the thing with Sun. And so you have that. And then after that, I think comes Eclipse, which is Blake and Sun. Not nearly that prevalent. Not a really super prevalent ship, despite the fact that that is the one that was not solely selected for us, but was kind of selected for us by RT to sample with the prom arc. That's how I view the prom arc. Widely, I view that as samples. That was the ship that was selected, and it's still not super prevalent. I'm kind of okay with that. I kind of wish that there was more. The chemistry between the two of them has been something that RT has really kind of pushed. And I don't mean that in a bad way. That sounds like I mean it in a bad way. But like, these are two Faunuses who like aren't a part of the White Fang. And outside of Velvet, they're the only two that we've seen so far that aren't on the side of the White Fang that we've gotten really exclusive looks at here. And I know that people have headcanons about who's a secret Faunus and who isn't. I personally disagree with those, like, from a canon point, so that's why I'm disregarding those here. Like, I'm just gonna say that right now. I think that they're cool, and I think that's awesome, and I love drawings of, like, Faunus, of, like, characters that aren't Faunus being Faunus. I think that's really fun, but, like, yeah. Just to give a reason. But so far, those are the only three characters that we've seen that aren't a part of the White Fang. Only three Faunuses that we've seen that aren't a part of the White Fang, that are that are separated from them. So there's that. Like there's that, and so we haven't seen Velvet interact with Blake though. I'd love to, and I'm really really excited for that. And Sun is, and so the chemistry there, like the dynamic between the two of them, right away is something that we want to pay attention to because it's a faunus friend for Blake. It is a faunus that Blake can speak with. It is somebody that has kind of like a different perspective on things from her and a different outlook on life from Blake. So I think that it's kind of not really a shame, but like I'd like to see more of that just because it's an interesting dynamic. After that, honestly, like then it's just kind of like pick your poison because there's really just not much else for this character. In fact, I'm willing to call Monkey Business the next ship after that because, which is Roman and Sun, by the way, just because I really don't see anything else for this character apart from like the one or two. I guess bananas, like BUN. I don't know any other name for that, and I hate that it's a pun. I hate puns, but bananas, I guess as well. Two characters that we haven't really seen talk, but it was just like back when Bumblebee was by and far the most popular ship within the fandom and still one of the more popular ships. It was just like, well, we need to give somebody to pair with Sun. Well, there's these two characters. We don't know anything about the rest of their team. We don't know anything about them. Let's just pair them together. And so that's kind of like the birth of Bananas, right? And that it really hasn't accelerated very much past that. It's just kind of like fallen almost completely out of favor because of the sudden prevalence of crosshairs and sea monkeys, right? Like now we've been given a leader and a second in command to ship these characters with. So that's kind of like, that's where the fall out of favor has been for that ship. And I'd say, even then, I never really saw too much for it. So I'm just going to call it Monkey Business, right? And Monkey Business helps my argument here in terms of what you need to pair Sun with. You need to pair Sun with somebody who either encourages Sun or who either, this one's for you, Chrissy, who either enables Sun or doesn't enable Sun or like disables Sun from stealing. Blake. Let's start with Eclipse. You know what? Fuck it. That's not like the most popular ship. Okay, let's start with Eclipse and let's start with Sea Monkeys, right? Neptune seems like the kind of guy that's a real stickler for protocol, a real stickler for rules. Doesn't want them to be broken. Stealing is against the rule that is known as law. Neptune would try and get Sun to stop doing that. And Blake, coming from the White Fang, also is like, yo, Sun, you gotta cut this out, man. Like, you straight up can't do this. And I think that's the fun, and that's one of the fun parts about it. It's the fact that they're just like, yo, Sun, no. Like, you can't. You cannot do this. We're not going to let you. Like, you need to stop. Like, we get it's not an overnight thing, but you need to, like, straight up stop. And that's fun. The flip side of the coin is something like Monkey Business. The whole reason that this ship would work is because Roman's like, yo, you're real good at stealing stuff. Like, you're real good. And I want to get to know you more because of it. And I want to steal stuff with you, right? That's just further encouraging him. That's enabling him, actually, to steal stuff. And that's the flip side of the coin, is the fact that, you have two characters that, the flip side of the coin, right? It is either they're like, you can't steal, or let's steal together, or I want you to steal more. And I think that, once again, keeping in line with RWBY's incredible ability to make everything a ship, if you try hard enough, that fits right in line with almost every single character in the show to some way or another. Some character can fulfill that role. And that's like the best. That is, without a doubt, that's the best. And I love that. Blake, obviously, like I said, Blake, Roman, or Blake, Velvet, Neptune are the ones that come to mind immediately as people that would like, discourage him. Obviously Roman being kind of the ones that would enable him, and I guess really any like trash ship. I mean, that kind of just falls along the lines of like the trash ships. I guess if you want to take a look at like Cardin would probably be the type to encourage him. I think in extreme circumstances, I think that Jean kind of fits that bill. I think I can't really think of too many ones that like aren't evil that would like encourage Sun. So I guess that really kind of just falls along the divides of trash shipping or not. Because even Cardin and Sun is kind of trash, but so that's really where this character stands romantically. Outside of that though, like there's really not much else that you need to know about him. I think that, like I said, I'm kind of underqualified to talk about Sun in terms of the way that he's represented because I don't read many Sun fics. In terms of people that really like characterize this guy, I like Miss Nerdgasm's characterization of him a lot. I think that she does a top job. It's a lot of fun. It is kind of just like along this like useless talks a big game, but is really useless and whatnot frame of things. But like, I'm fine with that because he's because like that's in line with what Lex does. Like that's just kind of like the joking side of things that she does in like her little mini fun comics that I love a lot. I can't think of any like names off the top of my head, and I'm really, really sorry because I have had them written down before, but like I suck, right? So I don't have them written down anymore. Real quick, cosplay wise, yeah, I don't like have anybody. Johnny Junker's cosplay actually. There's somebody I saw very early on do the props, and that's my experience with the guy. And I'll just go ahead and give a shout out. Officially, Sun Wukong does do a pretty top Sun cosplay. Beyond that, I don't have any names specifically because most of what I'm going off of is headcanons and whatnot, and that's just like it sucks because it's not reliable. It's really really dependent on my memory, but hey, all's well that ends well. Overall, Sun, fun character, a lot of potential. Are we talking about canon or are we talking about fanon? Well, I think that there's a lot of potential with both, and that there's two sharp directions that you can turn, and then there's tons of little alleyways within those. Turn Sun down the evil path. Well, do you want to make him white Fang? Do you want to just make him a kleptomaniac? Do you want to just like make him not associated with Sun? Do you want to make him, what do you want to do? Turn him down the good path. Okay, well, he's part of Team Sun. What does he do with that? What does he do with, this is a fun character because you can just do so much with him. And I think that like that's the cool part. Like that's the cool part for some of these characters. You can do so much with them. You can just you can go out and you can just have like a ball of a time. But with that is going to conclude this episode of Cody Talks Fandom. At the time that you are watching this, it should be up. It should be up. The thing. Oh my god, I can't talk. What is it called? The poll. I need a new poll. I suck. I forgot to do it earlier. I need this poll to be done by the end of Wednesday, which is the day that you're watching this. So if you could just take the time to go to the poll, it'll be linked on the Cody Talks Fandom group of what the poll is. It's going to be just a SparkNote, or not SparkNote. What is it called? The quick poll website. Jesus Christ, I suck. I'm just the worst. But there'll be a link to that on there. You'll see four options, and you can vote for them. Vote for whatever one. It's going to work the same as last time. Most votes, first interview. Second most votes, second interview. Third most votes, third interview. Fourth most votes, fourth interview. Well, we'll see about that one. But beyond that, that is going to conclude this episode of Cody Talks Fandom. We are down to 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, 3. Sorry, 3, because this is the Sun Wukong episode. There's only 3 more episodes of fanon interpretations. Then there will be then there's going to be the episode 50 then there'll be an episode 50 special, and then best of the rest, and then so on and so forth. So you're going to see that kind of shape out as time goes on. Sign up for RTX. You're going to RTX? Awesome. I want to talk to you there. Please sign up for that if you are going. I'd really appreciate it. But Otherwise, that's going to conclude this episode of Cody Talks Fandom. I'll see all of you the next time. Bye.